Hello and welcome everyone, my name is Meepolis and this is Literally Graphic. And today is another immigrant story spanning the Mexican-American border in the 90s. Rendez-Vous in Phoenix with words and pictures by Tony Sandoval was originally published on April 20th, 2016 by Magnet Press. Tony Sandoval, also known as Antonio Sandoval, was born in Ciudad Obregón, Sonora, Mexico, and still has a blogspot site. As documented in this particular biographic comic, Tony crossed the US-Mexican border illegally in the 90s and now lives in Geneva, Switzerland. He also goes under the username Reign of Doom on Instagram, where he describes himself as a dude who likes to draw. And finally, as outlined in his profile on Lionforged, quote, Tony's first U.S. book, Doom Boy, was nominated for a 2015 Eisner Award for Best Publication for Teens, and was selected by several Best of lists that year. He followed that success in 2016 with Eisner Award nomination for Best Multimedia Artist, as well as Glance Backwards, which he illustrated. Flipping over to the back, the official book synopsis is as follows, minus some hugely redundant parts due to it being autobio. Drawn by love, Tony Sandoval's urge to visit his American girlfriend can't wait for the lengthy, frustrating visa process standing in the way of their relationship. So he makes the ultimate romantic gesture, smuggling himself across the border, despite the danger he'll face from the heat, coyotes, barbed wire, and most daunting, the U.S. Border Patrol. As someone who has, since I've started forming my own opinions, only become more and more skeptical, to put it lightly, of the US, and now Canada too, immigration policies, this kind of book did push some of my worry buttons initially. What if all those pro-border wall people just use this to talk about the, quote, bad reasons a person might cross the border? Needless to say, that was kind of stupid overreaction on my part. A deeply human story, Rendezvous in Phoenix, is an interesting look back at what the U.S. border was like in the 90s, how it is all too similar today, and how it has changed for the much, much worse. I feel like you are likely to take away from the book whatever you bring to it as far as condoning or not what Tony Sandoval did. As a pretty short and fast own voices read, I do think it's a really important book to have around. Even more so since the hype factory that tried to give us American dirt, I suppose. I found the art style to be very expressive and engaging. I really liked the color schemes, and the page layouts were diverse but still pretty easy to follow. Another review that's a bit more after the fact than I would like. I am almost positive no issues of sexuality or gender were really touched on besides Tony wanting to be reunited with his opposite sex partner. I feel like class could have been highlighted more, but who am I to say? Ability, disability were not touched on at all either. Race, obviously, is part of the issue here at the center of the conflict, but bye y'all, keep reading and resist white supremacy. And as always, Literally Graphic is recorded on the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and Anishinaabe people, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Huron-Wendat Nation. I live here because of British colonization, indigenous genocide, and more geographically specific, Treaty 13, also known as the Toronto Purchase, which was finalized in 1805 between representatives of the Crown and certain Mississauga peoples. This treaty was a lie and has since been broken many times over. Saying so reflects only my own small steps towards knowing the truth and does nothing for reconciliation.